With just a few months remaining on his parole, Dylan Forrester gets a letter from his brother Sean, sending him birthday wishes. Along with his birthday greeting, Sean hopes Dylan will come home to Guardian Island once his sentence ends and he's able to move on from his troubled past. As time passes, Dylan gets another letter from Sean for Thanksgiving, once again hoping Dylan can join him in working on the renovation. But the next letter Dylan receives comes from Sean's wife, telling him that Sean has passed away. At that moment, Dylan notices a strange man in his room who appears to be up to no good. The scene shifts to the SWAT team entering Dylan's apartment, but they don't find him. Instead, they find the strange man from earlier tied up and severely beaten in the bathroom. The SWAT team is led by Agent Shaughnessy, who finds Dylan's antipsychotic and depression medications prescribed by Dr. Alderwood. She also recognizes Dylan's tracking anklet, indicating he has violated his parole. She meets with Dr. Alderwood and mentions that Dylan has left the beaten man in a coma with clear signs of torture. The doctor says he believes Dylan is no longer capable of such acts, but Shaughnessy tells him that Dylan was jailed 8 years ago for murder charges, suggesting he could still cause that kind of harm. Still, the doctor is convinced Dylan has changed and says he doesn't know where he is. When Shaughnessy gets back to the office, she discovers that Dylan's late younger brother, Professor Sean Forrester, had left his job to convert his home on Guardian Island into a hotel. She also learns that his funeral is set for the following day, so she arranges for a plane and boat to be ready for her trip to Guardian Island. Meanwhile, Dylan makes his way to Guardian Island, which Sean bought some time ago. When he arrives at the hotel, he sees a memorial photo of Sean from the funeral, as well as a painting of an old submarine. He is greeted by the receptionist, Joe, who escorts him to his room. Dylan spends some time rehearsing what he plans to say and how he will act when he attends Sean's memorial service. When his watch beeps, he takes his medication as scheduled. He goes downstairs and tries using the lines and gestures he has practiced with his mother, Linda, but it is clear that she is furious with him. Dylan can't quite grasp her question about why he has come, and the elderly woman walks away, clearly disturbed by his presence. Dylan approaches his late brother and notices Sean's dirty fingernails, along with a wound on his neck. Sean's wife, Susan, comes over and explains that Sean fell while working at the lighthouse. She also introduces Hugh, one of the workers there and the person who found Sean's body. She apologizes for Linda's behavior toward him, saying it is just because of Sean's death. Dylan, who can't feel anything at all, finds himself puzzled and unsure about how to respond. Susan speaks with Linda about what happened, but Linda says she doesn't care since Dylan can't feel anything. She adds that Susan is unaware of what they have endured in the past and the damage Dylan has brought to their family as a criminal. Meanwhile, Dylan meets Sean's friend Massey and turns down his offer for a drink, saying he doesn't drink anymore. Another of Sean's friends, Sheriff McCoy, becomes curious about Dylan's presence. At that moment, he receives a call from officials informing him of Dylan's parole violation. He is told that the FBI is on its way to apprehend Dylan and is asked to detain him temporarily until they arrive. After returning to his room, Dylan gets in touch with Dr. Alderwood, who calmly reminds him to take his pills, as they help him feel just enough to manage his interactions with his family more smoothly. Because of Shaughnessy's visit, the doctor encourages Dylan to show his family that he is a changed man. While the sheriff heads to his boat to gather more information about Dylan, Dylan meets Sean's son, Freddie. Freddie mentions that he has heard Dylan is crazy, but Dylan explains that he simply has a condition called antisocial personality disorder. It's a brain disorder that makes him indifferent to other people's emotions, and it also prevents him from feeling fear. Dylan says he isn't insane, he just sees the world a bit differently than most people. Freddie seems convinced by his explanation and shows him a toy Japanese submarine that he and his father made together. Dylan's identity is confirmed by Sheriff McCoy, who then begins preparing to apprehend him. Susan speaks with Linda, who says she hasn't heard much about Dylan other than that he was in prison and was later released, and now he has suddenly shown up on the island. As Dylan and Freddie come downstairs, Susan quickly tells her son to go back up to his room. Linda states that Dylan is no longer considered part of their family once he chose the path of a criminal. As the sheriff cautiously enters the house, Dylan tries to explain to his mother that he is no longer the same person he once was, and that he is undergoing therapy and treatment, which contributes to his change. However, Linda responds that he can never change because he is insane. Suddenly, the sheriff appears with his gun aimed at Dylan and arrests him for attempted murder. He informs everyone that the FBI is on their way and that he will be taking Dylan to the bunker for detention. The sheriff carefully escorts Dylan into the cell and firmly warns him against attempting anything reckless. He mentions that he has been friends with Sean for many years, yet Sean has never once told him about having a brother. He also says that before Sean died, Sean called him, mentioning there was something very important he needed to tell him, which is why he requested him to come to the island. Now that Sean is gone, the sheriff finds Dylan's sudden appearance suspicious and believes it might be connected to what Sean wanted to say. Suddenly, Dylan's watch goes off, indicating it is time for his medication. He explains this to the sheriff and requests his assistance. With his gun still aimed, the sheriff retrieves Dylan's medication from his pocket and helps him take it. Joe comes in with coffee for them, but Dylan refuses the offer. Then, they suddenly hear boats approaching, and the sheriff immediately thinks it is the FBI. He leaves Dylan in Joe's care and steps outside to approach the group of armed men. He questions why such a large number of people are needed for a single criminal and even asks them which field they work in, but the men pay him no attention. He begins to suspect that the men might not be from the FBI and are possibly mercenaries instead. The sheriff aims his gun at them, but the men quickly fire at him. Dylan, Joe, and everyone else in the house hear the gunshots. The sheriff attempts to fire back, but he is vastly outnumbered. Dylan urges Joe to grab the gun and free him if he wants them to make it out alive. The mercenary leader, Cole, approaches the injured sheriff and finishes him off with a shot. He then orders his men to sweep across the island and round up everyone present. Cole and his team storm into the house and take everyone captive, while Joe is discovered in the cell by a mercenary named Whimper. The mercenary seize all the phones, and Cole walks up to Hugh, suggesting the two are familiar with each other.
Hey, your phone.
Whimper tells Cole about Joe, but Cole instructs all his men to hold off on killing anyone until they figure out what each person knows. Felix, one of the men, comes up to Cole to ask why the sheriff believed they were the FBI. Linda says it is because the FBI is already on their way to the island, but Cole remains unfazed and says their plan will proceed. While Whimper is holding Joe captive, Dylan suddenly appears and attacks him until he loses consciousness. He then releases Joe, who asks if the man is dead, and Dylan replies no, explaining that he no longer kills people. Afterwards, Dylan leaves the bunker with Joe, following close behind. Meanwhile, at the house, since Whimper was not responding to Cole, he ordered Felix to check on him and find out his condition. He also instructed another member, Blanchard, to go upstairs and see if there were any other people. On the other hand, Shaughnessy has already arrived in Washington to head to Guardian Island. However, it will still take her 3 hours to get there, assuming the weather conditions stay favorable. While speaking on the phone with her partner Wagner, she found it strange that Dylan would leave a living witness in his apartment, considering that in all the years she had been following his crimes, he had never left behind a body or a witness before. Back on the island, Cole quietly approaches Sean's body and whispers, asking about the location of what they are searching for. He then talks to Hugh, who says he has no choice because he is going to kill him.
He was on to me.
While Cole is getting an update from Felix, Hugh suddenly runs and attempts to flee. But before he can fully escape, Cole orders his sniper to take him down.
Hugh! Stop! You're down! Hugh, stop!
Take him.
Oh my God!
Joe witnesses this, but Dylan quickly moves to her side and silences her before the mercenaries can notice them. Cole then warns everyone that such consequences will follow if they refuse to cooperate. Felix reaches the bunker to inspect Whimper, while Blanchard finds Freddy and brings him to his mother. Seeing Whimper badly injured, Felix informs Cole and asks him to come over. Cole instructs Blanchard to guard the captives while they head out toward the bunker. A little later, Dylan uses the back door to enter the house. He grabs a knife and sees Blanchard guarding the captives. Joe, who has followed him, also enters from the back, but Dylan sees her and approaches as if to stab her. Hearing Joe's scream, Blanchard comes to check, but Dylan suddenly emerges and launches an attack on him.
You cut me.
I needed a scream.
Meanwhile, Cole and his team arrive at the bunker and spot a photo of Dylan. It turns out the mercenaries are familiar with Dylan, and Cole is the one who sent someone to his apartment to kill him, yet now, Dylan is here with them on the island. They know just how dangerous Dylan is, but Felix wonders why he spares Whimper. Without warning, Cole suddenly shoots Whimper, surprising the others, especially Pike.
that felt good.
Good, let's get to work. Come on.
He's in the mood.
Let's go!
As they leave the bunker, Cole declares that whoever manages to kill Dylan will receive Whimper's share of the money. Meanwhile at the house, Dylan acts quickly to block the enemies from entering, closing off the entire place with metal shutters on the windows and doors that Sean installed for protection. The mercenaries notice this and realize Blanchard is still inside, but they can no longer reach him.
Well then, Blanchard's in deep.
Linda holds her son Dylan responsible for the chaos, but he insists that he isn't the one the mercenaries are after.
Oh, right. This is just a coincidence.
Dylan then calls Dr. Alderwood to ask for his opinion, as he is considering going back to his old ways. However, the doctor keeps reminding him that he's no longer the same person and shouldn't let his former self take over again. Dylan asks what if he has to do it to protect himself, and the doctor tells him to follow his fight-or-flight response, but to still consider whether the outcome is something he'd be proud of. After ending the call, Dylan tries asking the restrained Blanchard what brought them to the island. Despite his threats, Dylan doesn't get a clear answer from Blanchard, so he goes back downstairs. Linda then asks Dylan to leave the place, believing they are now in danger because of him. Dylan's watch beeps, so he takes his medication, while Pike is outside the house, peeking in and trying to scare them. Massey comes up with a shotgun and fires through the window, hitting Pike in the eye. Cole tells the sniper to shoot inside, but the house is fully reinforced with steel, so the bullets can't get through. Pike survives but suffers a serious injury to one of his eyes. Linda again urges Dylan to leave before he causes them more harm, and this time, Dylan agrees. Meanwhile, Wagner tells Shaughnessy about his findings on Sean, revealing that he had a huge debt while being a professor. Despite this, Sean was able to buy Guardian Island, paying double its actual value, with help from a mysterious person who sent money via wire transfer. Wagner also finds out that Guardian Island was used as a naval base during World War II. Shaughnessy is quite puzzled by this discovery and instructs Wagner to investigate who sent the money to Sean. Meanwhile, as Dylan is leaving, he asks again how Sean really died, and Susan says he fell from the lighthouse while repairing something there. Dylan also asks how long Hugh has been working with them, and Susan replies it has only been just over a month. Dylan goes around the back of the house, following the clues Susan mentioned, while Cole instructs his men to gather their gear and machines. While in hiding, Dylan spots them retrieving shovels and a machine from their boat. When the mercenaries get back, they discover a message left behind by the people inside, letting them know that Dylan has already left. Realizing Dylan is making a run for it and aiming to take their boat, Cole orders the sniper to fire at him. Dylan dodges all the bullets and manages to escape using one of the enemy's boats. Frustrated, Cole reminds them they still have one more boat and instructs his men not to let that one get away. Later on, Felix and Pike use their machine to search around the island. A little while later, Dylan returns to the island and calls Dr. Alderwood. He says he stays with his family because they need his help and admits he is afraid of becoming his old self again. The doctor suggests he avoid putting too much pressure on himself and try to face his problems one step at a time. Following that advice, Dylan goes to the lighthouse and quietly approaches the sniper from behind. Meanwhile, outside the house, Cole yells to warn the people inside that he will kill them all once they manage to get in. However, he offers to spare their lives if they agree to help him find what they came for. At this point, they realize that Dylan has nothing to do with these mercenaries, and they begin to wonder what it is they are really after. On the other hand, since it is already nighttime and the weather has worsened, Wagner isn't able to find a boat for Shaughnessy to use to get to Guardian Island. He then shares that a boat was recently stolen from a nearby dock, claiming it was taken by a group of mysterious armed men. They also find out that a captain there carried a passenger who matches Dylan's description. Back on the island, Dylan finds Pike and Felix doing seismic testing, which makes him even more puzzled about what they are really searching for. Since their efforts aren't yielding results, Pike decides to try a different approach by getting inside the house to question the hostages. He gets into the storage room and finds Blanchard tied up, so he sets him free. As they move around the house, Dylan also finds his way in by climbing the roof and slipping through a window. Blanchard makes it to Freddy's room and captures him, while Pike successfully catches Joe. Dylan then reaches Freddy's room and tells him to head downstairs. Blanchard and Dylan get into a fight, while Pike leads Joe downstairs at gunpoint, leaving Massey with no choice but to drop his shotgun. Blanchard relentlessly beats Dylan, and when Dylan crawls toward a shard of broken glass, Blanchard assumes he is going to stab him with it, but instead, Dylan uses Freddy's toy submarine and successfully kills Blanchard.
Japanese. Femoral artery. You're gonna want to put some pressure on that. Too late. I really enjoyed that. Oh.
Dylan goes downstairs, grabs the shotgun, and shoots Pike in the shoulder. Pike manages to survive and quickly rushes outside to inform Cole that Blanchard is dead and that Dylan has shot him. As Dylan is telling his mother that he deserves a second chance, he hears Cole calling out, asking to talk to him. Dylan steps outside and confronts Cole, who taunts him for being soft now, unlike how he was when they were together before. Cole suggests it might be because of the medication they gave him in his therapy, which Cole sees as treating him like a lunatic. He says he never really thought Dylan was crazy and urges him to accept who he truly is and come back to their side. He also mentions that Sean probably told Dylan about what they are after on the island. But when Cole realizes Dylan doesn't know anything about their target, he orders the sniper to kill him, only to discover that Dylan already killed the sniper earlier. Dylan quickly goes back to the house and shares with the others what Cole revealed about Sean. He mentions that Sean made a deal with the Mercenaries, who are here searching for something on the island. He also points out that there's engine grease on Sean's nails, which makes him suspect foul play instead of a simple fall.
You said Hugh found him, right?
Yeah, Hugh. There was something, it was like a moment that they had.
Okay, shut up.
After Massey mentions that Hugh and Cole had a conversation, Dylan realizes that Cole sent Hugh to watch Sean, but when Sean found out, Hugh ended up killing him. Dylan asks where Sean's office is, and while Cole keeps searching the area, Dylan and the others go to Sean's office to look for clues. They discover a mysterious door and go inside, noticing boot prints coming from the liquor storage room. Dylan then realizes there is a secret passage behind the door, so he pushes it open and finds a staircase leading down. Meanwhile, Wagner discovers the identity of the people who stole the boat, and Shaughnessy realizes that they are Cole and his men. She knows Cole as a high-level fixer and Dylan's former employer. Dylan has worked for Cole since he was discharged from the SEALs after almost killing his commanding officer. Shaughnessy suspects that Dylan and Cole have reunited to carry out criminal activities once again. Suddenly, someone knocks on the window of her car, and it is an old man who asks if he can help her, to which Shaughnessy replies yes. Back on the island, Pike and Felix continue conducting seismic testing, while Massey catches up with Dylan downstairs. As they continue along their path, they arrive at what appears to be a facility. When they turn on the lights, they are shocked to find a Japanese submarine used during World War II. Meanwhile, Cole's machine finally detects an underground passageway that leads from the house to the lighthouse. He orders 2 of his men to enter from the lighthouse side while he himself enters from the house side. Massey and Dylan discover a large stash of gold bars, which is actually the Yamashita treasure Sean had mentioned in his book. Massey had doubted Sean's stories back in high school, and Dylan realizes that this is the message Sean wants to send through his letters. Cole knocks Joe down and sees the hidden passage while pointing a gun at Susan and Linda. Suddenly, 2 of Cole's men open fire and start shooting aggressively at Massey and Dylan. They manage to take cover behind the machine gun, and Dylan calls Dr. Alderwood. Dylan asks once more if he can revert to his old ways to protect himself, and when the doctor hears that he is under fire, he advises Dylan to do everything necessary to stay alive.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. I'll lose my license.
With that, Dylan moves to the submarine's machine gun and begins shooting back at the 2 attackers. He kills Pike first, then takes out Felix by shooting the gas drums nearby, triggering an explosion. Afterwards, Cole suddenly shows up with Linda held hostage. He warns Dylan not to make any reckless moves, saying he still needs him alive. Massey attempts to shoot Cole with the machine gun, but Cole manages to dodge and fires back at him. Cole attempts to persuade Dylan to team up with him in taking the gold and escaping before the FBI shows up. However, Dylan says he didn't come for the gold but for his family. Because of this, Cole proposes a deal. Dylan would carry the gold to the boat, and in return, he'd release his mother. Dylan has no choice but to go along, so he starts lifting the heavy gold bars and placing them into a wooden crate. He carries out half of the gold, struggling under its weight. As he stumbles, Shaughnessy suddenly appears. Not knowing what is going on, she tries to arrest Dylan, but Cole shows up and shoots her. Dylan immediately fights back, managing to knock the gun out of Cole's hand, but Cole grabs his knife and once again threatens Linda. He orders Dylan to pick up the gold, but Linda tells him not to, saying Cole would kill them all anyway. Dylan agrees with his mother and chooses to throw the gold into the water. This infuriates Cole, and he pushes Linda, though she manages to hang on to the edge. A fight breaks out between Dylan and Cole, during which Dylan kills Cole using his own knife. After Cole falls into the water, Dylan quickly helps his mother climb back up. After that, Dylan, still holding a knife, goes to Shaughnessy, who survives after being shot only in the shoulder.
You're not gonna die here.
He then goes back to his mother and offers his condolences for Sean's passing. Linda hugs her son for the first time in decades, and Dylan clearly feels happy about it. The next morning, Dylan calls Dr. Alderwood to tell him everything that has happened. He explains that Sean uncovered the hidden Yamashita treasure on Guardian Island by connecting clues from World War II. Sean had borrowed money from Cole to purchase the island, but before he could repay, Cole had him killed. The doctor warns Dylan that his enemies will definitely pursue him, but Dylan replies that he is already used to it and believes he can get through it. He also mentions that he has ensured his family's safety and says he will prioritize himself for the time being. After the doctor says his farewells, Dylan tosses his medicines into the sea, marking the end of the movie. Thank you so much for staying till the end. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for future uploads.